Hello guys. The queue is pretty long today. It's actually been a while since I have had like a 5 minute plus queue, I feel like. It's been pretty decent lately. Could just be a bad time. Hey, Heroic. What's up, man? Oh, I'm so tired today. I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule. Oh, it's been bad lately, but now we're nearing Christmas time and events, family events and stuff like that will be happening, so I gotta fix that shit now. I'm doing it the hard way by staying up all day. I hate it though. I always regret it, but here we are. It's gotta be done. It's so much easier to just go to bed early, right? I just can't make myself do it sometimes. I'm too lazy. And also at the same time I have too much energy to do it. I just can't fall asleep anyway. Yeah, it's weird. I feel the same. Like going to bed early and then waking up early feels fantastic. But I can't do it. It's the weirdest thing. I cannot make myself do it. I want to be awake much more. I want to do things. It also doesn't help though that usually like especially in Smite lately in EU, if you want to get a good queue, you have to queue somewhat late. That does not help. Especially if Nika isn't streaming. Now you can get some pretty decent queues when Nika is streaming as well, but I feel like the best queues are really pretty late. Yeah, I feel like people are chilling. Like we're reaching December, like people are probably chilling, doing family stuff, like playing less, maybe something like that. So yeah, I also feel like the queues have been somewhat rough lately. Are you queuing by the way, Rorik? We can do a queue because I feel like right now might be rough. Might need another one that I can help or like I can rely on in these queues. We might have to wait another 10 minutes though. Yeah, I mean the same people probably queue when Nika isn't, streaming. It's just it makes it much easier to for everyone to queue up at the same time. Play two games that are much fun. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. Like my last session was good. Can I? No, I can't even sort by. I've done a pretty decent amount of casuals just because of worshipper bonuses, so I've been doing a lot of that. What was my last? Here. Yeah, Mordred, Hades, and a very strange Morgan game. And these two chalk games as well. So like if I won 4 out of my 5 games, so that was great. But I had a losing streak that, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I can see the whole thing. I had this weird losing streak where I almost got fed every game, but we just threw our lead eventually. It just felt terrible. Like in this Morgan game, for example, we just did the stupid thing of a bad siege once, and they just went down and ended the game for it. So just yeah, it's I need someone else that I can rely on sometimes to actually win. Morgan feels so bad. I actually feel the opposite. I think Morgan feels great. Like she's definitely annoying. Like sometimes you have some old bugs here and there, um, which is obviously not great. Like that feels terrible when you have bugs. But if you're not experiencing the bugs, I think she feels pretty good for the most part. But I mean, maybe that's kind of bad, you know. You shouldn't be feeling bugs when you play a game. And hey, hello, Winorin. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. It's been a while. Partly because I don't stream, I guess. Haven't really been enjoying it that much lately. Well, no, it's not true. I've been enjoying it when I do it, but I did burn out on doing it every day. I'm just not a big streamer. I'm much more of a just chill and watch something on the side type of person when I play games. Probably kind of just leans into my autism where I'm too hyper. Something needs to happen at all times, and when I stream, it's more like when I wait for queue and stuff like that. I get very restless. That's the worst part. Doing good. Currently locked in school, finishing some Port 5. Nice man. It's good to hear. Assuming you enjoy that stuff. Character feels good, just the bugs. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Like the worst thing for me and Morrigan, like I know Dutch, for example, is experiencing a lot of like tapping out when he ults. I've never experienced that stuff, for example, but every time I turn back after ulting as Morrigan, I get a massive lag spike. So I'm not definitely not saying that she feels good in that way, because that feels like shit. But she's so much fun. Like I hated how bugged she is, because I love playing the character. I think she's legitimately one of my top 10 favorite characters in Smite overall. I like her a lot. Especially after they reworked Loki. I miss the old Loki, but Morgan is a lot more like the old Loki in the way she works. I like that more. Uh, I don't even know. I need to find something easy for them to play. In these lower games, we don't want to deal with something that someone who might not be as skilled can still do really well on, which is the Anubis and the Zeus. Maybe Fenrir, shit like that. Loki. And obviously the Poseidon. but he's already out. I do hope I don't get any bad servers today. I've done 2 casuals just to kind of warm up a bit. But if I get a bad server, I won't be able to fucking do anything. And I've been getting a lot of those lately. I'll do Chuck. For me, Nuwa is the most fun gun in the game. I do actually think Nuwa is pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. I used to not think that. Pre-Smite too. But I also felt the same with Hades, and now Hades is my second Radiant in the game. So, I don't know, Smite 2 has definitely made some gods a lot more fun for me. Hey, Che Ghost, good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Hades feels amazing, man. Like, the choice or decision making you can now make with his ult feels amazing. He just feels way better to play in general. I also feel like because you can move while you do your 1 or like your 3, you could do that before as well, but I feel like you were just locked in animation for a lot longer. I don't know, maybe I just misremember it. But he just feels so much better now. It really does. We're having Neath mid, that's not good. Hopefully we pick some magic here, otherwise we're kind of fucked. Because that's going to be a raw solo from what I can tell. And if we have raw solo with the full nasty build, like me and like we can't fucking kill him, man. So hopefully. Show me that. I don't even care if he picks a mage, just pick something magical. I'll take it. A carry Hekate, I'll fucking take it. That's honestly one of the worst ones you could have picked though, to be honest. We'll see. I believe in Devil Inbound. Was Bronzeblade still does good on her? I think most people can do alright on her, assuming they get to mid on late game. But on someone who might not be that good, into top pick on her, whoever this might be, is what makes me afraid. Oh, maybe that's actually not an ADC on her then. It's not, it's gonna be support on her. That makes it even worse, honestly. I don't think this Akata is gonna have a very good time. Raw jungle. How great. Alright, let's see. I think that's fine. I think the server is alright. It's hard to tell with Chuck, because Chuck has always been a bit clunky with the axe throws. But I think I'm alright. Yeah, I think it's alright. So yeah, for context, I mean, recently, since the last patch, I guess they just added a bunch more servers, and sometimes in Smite 2, or in Smite 1, I guess, you would rarely get a bad server, even though you're in your own region. It's just been happening a lot for me in Smite 2. Like, almost, like, on some days, it's legitimately been 50% of the time. And it feels terrible, and it legitimately ruins the fun for me. So if I play something like Thor, it is straight up unplayable. And Shock, also borderline unplayable, I learned recently, which I thought wasn't going to be the case, because Hades was actually fine to play on bad ping, because you generally just have big circles anyway. But while you also have that on Shock, the teleport completely fucks up on my stream when it's lagging. So it's like the game can't figure out where I am. So while Shock still works, it's very disorienting to play him, because it just throws me around the map. Let's be real though, Ra works with anything right now. You can put him anywhere and still be a menace just because of the build. It's really annoying. He's just one of the gods, like Zeus, you can just put him anywhere. He'll still do fine.
No problem. Oh, sorry.
I can try Dutch. I'll do my best. But Chuck isn't great at fucking things early, I will say. He needs a few levels to really be the menace he is. I need cooldown. The thing is, I can always tell if I'm against someone really good or not depending on how early they get to the lane. If you miss 2 creeps, you're not an experienced solo. Also, going the back path is interesting. I can't recommend it. It wastes so much time. I should do the gold camp, but I'll stick to the small ones for now. Don't want to give Anubis too much breathing room. I just need level 3. Once my axe is rank 2, I think that's when Jock becomes super annoying to deal with. I don't want to let him clear for free. I want to deny as much as I can. I missed my axe. It's done. Cooked.
Okay.
It is Anubis though. Like, this is just kind of a stalemate matchup. He can just sit back and not do anything. I can't really stop him with this shot. And I'm gonna have to waste money on early anti-healing, which is disgusting, honestly. Nothing feels worse than building anti-healing early right now. The items are just so bad. Oh, hello. No, man. That doesn't kill me. Anubis blink though. I guess I'll take the trade. Anubis blink. Like, Raj is wasting time at this point. I'm stealing XP from Anubis, so overall this is good for me. Yeah, I'll just buy the 2-2. Or the tier 1, depending on how much gold I have. Alright. I think I can allow myself to be aggressive early against them. Yeah, I will. I could just do early Genjis as well.
Completed. Be right back.
But I think I'll do this. I want to see if I can punish Anubis before he gets too many items online. I should start hitting pretty hard now. Yeah, didn't reach. Axe not up in time.
Your right tower is under attack. Good luck. Your right tower is under attack.
Elysium will welcome you.
How much health does minion have? There we go.
Cancel
God damn.
that.
I want to invade, but I didn't want to lose the wave either. Oh. Oh. Sure, just blinked, I guess. But didn't expect everything. That's my bad. Genji's or Chalisman? Probably Genji's.
That's too bad.
Good game. Gank. Good game. Good game. Gank.
The dead speak no words.
Who's the jungler? On their team, it is Raw. It's Rage. Seen the name a few times, but not enough to really get an idea of how good he is.
Defend. 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 Watch my back.
Let's see how much he's gonna allow me to zone.
Your right tower is under attack.
He also went ammo healing.
An enemy has been slain.
Great, we both hate this lane then. This really is a super boring lane.
Your middle tower is under attack. Killing spree.
Yeah, I mean, can't say it was fully unexpected with Akate being 3-0 or 0-3 already.
Enemy missing leg.
Okay.
Missing middle.
No, don't stop me. Oh. That was almost a dick move.
Take this jungle. Enemy missing.
Oh yeah, now you mention it. I feel like I did say on stream once. Maybe it wasn't on stream. I remember saying that his name fits him. So yeah, that might be him. You might be right about that.
Enemy spotted. Cancel that. Completed.
Okay.
That's Blink, that's good.
Okay.
An ally has been slain. Your right tower is under attack. Gank left lane. Your right tower is under attack.
Yeah, he's not walking up.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. That's too bad. An ally has been slain.
Oh, what the? No, man.
Enemy missing.
Dude, what the fuck? Not a single missing was called. Alright. Time to ward, I guess. What the fuck? Oh. Get him. No! That's bad. Oh.
Enemy on your left tower.
Distract and destroy. Enemy ultimate incoming. Ultimate down.
Get that Cupid Yorick. There you go, buddy. Nice.
Elysium will welcome you.
How is the music volume, by the way, guys? I haven't really had music on stream for a while. I'm not sure the volume is good or bad. Can you even hear it?
Good game. Good game. Good game. Enemy missing left. This is a good spot. Yes.
Quiet.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, Horik. Dude, I cannot say your name right. Holy fuck. An H with an R right after each other is so hard for me in English.
Your middle tower.
But don't worry, man. If you can, just farm. Look for a pick if you see an like an easy pick or anything like that. Otherwise, just what the fuck is this?
Ultimate is ready.
Yeah, just like that. We play off of what they do, not off of what we do, if that makes sense. We take advantage. Oh, he hurts now. Dude, I have full Genjis, by the way. What the fuck? Not really a chase is gonna get anything out of. Still 15.
Team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Alright, I'm back.
Enemies incoming right. Enemies incoming right.
Dude, I don't understand. How is he that tanky to me as well? Just Glad Shield. They gotta nerf Glad Shield, man. Shit is too good. I had it kill, yeah. Deserves it for playing Anubis though. But I also deserve to dying playing Chuck.
Be careful left.
Yeah. I'll be careful, buddy.
Be careful left.
I'm gonna play something more fun next game, even if it's not as strong, just because this is actually boring. Chalk versus Anubis is really just a snooze fest.
On my way. An enemy has been slain.
Attack the gold fury.
I'm not in a position to do gold.
Be careful. Fire gun. An ally has been slain.
realistically, we should have done gold.
Yine ananızı sikin. Orospu çocukları.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
But we weren't in a position to do it. Needs should have fallen back.
Defend.
Your middle tower is under
Thanatos?
attack.
Maybe. Might do Thanatos.
Your right
The only thing I'm scared of with Thanatos is that if I get a bad server, it will actually become unplayable. Trying to hit a scythe with 150 to 200 ping is an absolute nightmare. Though, I mean, it's gonna be bad on any god, really. I was thinking Morrigan originally, but transforming with 150 ping also feels like shit. So, it is what it is.
Your right tower is under attack. Be careful, right?
Don't think I can gank them and get anything out of it. In reality, I think I just want something where I can rotate a bit faster. Be part of the map a bit more, if the lane is boring.
Amına kodumu Loki'si gelsene lan orospu çocuğu.
Elysium will welcome you.
I should have this guy eventually. Don't even think I need to ult.
Nice job. Watch my back.
There's nothing for us to take, man. Yeah, sure.
Attack fire giant.
Let's just do fire. It's actually a good call.
Chase the enemy.
Damn it.
Completed.
The Pyromancer has arrived.
Yeah, we're not catching him. Alright, I'll take it back.
Enemy ultimate
On my way. An enemy has been slain.
And suddenly we're winning every exchange.
Dispel their attacks.
Okay.
Be right back.
Group up.
I do want to be faster. Let's do Tekokaki as well. Even though I think Tekokaki is kind of bad. You sure the lobby? Sure. Yeah, it's alright. It could be worse, it could be better. Let's just make sure they don't open fire here. Yeah.
This is a good spot.
Honor isn't right.
I will ward.
But I don't think we want to do it if Ra is still alive, to be honest. He's just gonna steal it, I fucking know it.
Enemy missing leg. Attack.
Careful left.
Curse you. Oh, sorry.
Buffy Medic doing really well on this topic.
Attack fire giant.
3 people in on right should definitely give us this. Oops. Oh my god.
Destroyed the fire tower.
At least no Gabo. Yeah, I mean, if you see Fenrir in the game, there, you know, if there's no Fenrir, there's no Gabo, you know.
Enemy missing. No problem.
Back off. Honor blink.
Attack the gold fury.
Oh, they're chasing this. Are we?
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Dude, that is the wildest chase if they decide to actually go for that. On the chalk of all things. I don't know why I need one in here.
Ultimate is ready.
Like, I feel like I mean, we could just push right as well, but... Yeah, they're just legitimately looking for us here. But we're not really doing this very well.
I will board. Retreat left lane.
Now I just need to stop you, boys. Not really worth it. Like, we should really just group. We win the fights. Like, if I'm there, I don't see us losing. Same with like if a big Loki. Well, whatever. It's definitely some weird, awkward grouping where, or I guess spreading we're doing. No, I want to do commands. Fuck me.
Flank, right lane.
Cancelled it.
Enemy missing right. Be right back. Enemy ultimate incoming.
Retreat.
We can get a pick out of this instead of losing someone. That would actually be kind of big on her sort of position.
Retreat. 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 Retreat.
Oh my god.
Has been slain.
I'll push it right, I guess. That's a gigantic wave here. Always people around me. Go away.
Retreat! 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 Retreat!
Aw, man, why does the fight break out the second I back? Alright, I already got a 1-for-1 at least. If he gets out, that would be so big.
An ally has been slain. Good game.
Dude, he's just jumping in front of us. No, I'm missing everything.
Elysium will welcome you.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Move up. Behind us. Behind us.
An ally has been slain.
Oh, I have movement speed. I can make it. And my ult up soon. And Anubis is here.
Have slain an enemy. Chase the enemy. An enemy has been slain.
It's good. Let's keep on going with this. Not do boards. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of bored this game. Chalkish is one of those gods where at this point I can't enjoy it anymore. It's so boring.
Okay.
A part of it is fun, like a big old stuff like that. He can be satisfying to play for sure, but
Your right tower is under attack.
he's just been OP for too long at this point in a not fun way.
This is a good spot. Help right leg. Destroyed the fire giant. Retreat. Attack the golden fury.
Ultimate is ready.
No.
Retreat. Attack the golden fury. On my
Let's just play it safe, honestly. I'm getting bored, but I can also feel that I'm starting to make bad decisions as a result of it. Or I want to make bad decisions. I want to take risks. I want to fight.
Group up.
I'm surprised they didn't do gold. They left because Loki showed up, I guess? Wasn't it like half HP or some shit? That's a bit strange to me.
Your team has destroyed the gold fury. Right back.
Like, we need to do something with this fire giant, boys. Can't keep backing.
Right lane. Hi.
Be right back.
Enemies in the right lane. Attack right lane.
It's the cute little body block. Keep it blocked, that's great. Get mid as well. Knock me out of it, that's nice. Neith actually played surprisingly well towards the end. He had some interesting positioning at times, but call me surprised. Yeah, GG's work. You done? Or how's it looking? Alright, never mind. Alright, let's see. I have reached the usual stage of where I'm a little tired of the current gods available. And there is no one that I really gravitate towards outside of Mordred, I guess, but Mordred is, you know, not good. He is still a lot of fun though. I love playing Mordred. I mean, he is my most played by a pretty large margin. Maybe I'll do some Zeus. Kind of feeling Zeus a little bit. I just can't play the same god for very long, unless it's something that I really enjoy. And so far in Smite 2, that's only been Hades and Mordred. Somehow Hades was one of them. Pretty sure the timeline changed. Be back in 5. You want me to wait for you? I can wait for you if you want. Queue up. Okay. Are you in party, Dutch? Duo queuing? I hope I'm not against you then. Now that I'm solo queued. Yeah, Moja is she's in. And yeah, she has the same kit. She's very good in Smite 2 right now. She is borderline broken, if not actually broken. Her 2 just does too much. It heals quite a bit and it gives you a shield, and it really shouldn't. She is very good. I do not know how to play her though, and I have played her once in Smite 2, just to, I guess, try her, but I just don't enjoy her. She's not really for me, she never was. But I also don't like supporties, like super supportive characters. It's also why I don't never liked Afro. Afro's not for me. In a way, that's why Nuwa wasn't something I really enjoyed, because while she definitely does act as a full mage or burst mage, she needs the right setup for it to really work. It just wasn't really for me. Same thing with Baron, but Baron I actually played quite a lot in Smite 2. Just because of how strong he's been. And he's decently fun, honestly. He's decent. Strong heals, shields is very useful in solo. No, because you need to hit someone else. Tyler's so real, what the real baby. Yeah, I don't know where Vamana is, man. I need it. I can already see it though. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just gonna be broken. Like, whatever +1 they can give him. Vamana is one of those gods that you can very easily make him broken. Just because of the nature of his ultimate. You gotta be careful what you give him. I do miss playing him though. I legitimately thought about it yesterday that I thought about opening Smite 1 and playing a game for the first time in I don't know how long, just to play some Vamana. It's not just Vamana, by the way. There's other guys that I miss too, like Apollo. Yeah, Apollo, Vamana are probably the main two that I really, really enjoy, that are some of my favorites that just aren't in the game just yet. Yeah, Medusa, I'm not looking forward to that. She's definitely fun. If I get ADC, sure. Or mid, I guess, but... Oh, man. Having to deal with Medusa as a frontline is not gonna be fun. I'm not really getting anything next patch that I'm looking forward to, so... I don't know. Maybe Pele is gonna be a surprise, but... We'll see. I mean, how... With how sad this might sound, Afro might be the one I'm gonna play the most out of those three. I fucking hate Afro. But you know what? I fucking hated Baron as well in Smite 1. Guess what? I'm rank 6. So you never know, man. You never fucking know. Like, Anubis in Smite 1 is also someone I never really touched. In my, 10 years of playing Smite 1, give and take, bricks and all that, he was rank 6. Through 10 years. And, he's the rank 7 in Smite 2, but in terms of, like, equal worshippers, I'm maybe 200 worshippers behind what I was in Smite 1. So, it's a big difference. And Anubis I've enjoyed a pretty decent amount. I will also say, though, Anubis was someone I started to enjoy at the end of Smite 1, when I came back, and he was actually pretty decent in solo or jungle or whatever. I did play him a small amount, so going into Smite 2 was a bit easier, because I was in the mood for Anubis. Yeah, the lag of gods that made me play gods I normally wouldn't. Same, 100%. And even trying builds on them that you wouldn't normally be able to, just because of the nature of Smite 2 having like hybrid building. I mean, even a map change, especially in mid. I do agree, but I also don't think, like, realistically thinking of what should be a priority right now, map changes should not be a priority. It really shouldn't. They need to wait with that, especially right now with a land coming up. So, but I'm super down for a map change in some way as well. I 100% agree. Not even so much in solo. I actually think solo is kind of perfect in the way it's like it works. Honestly, I think solo is the most perfect of the three lanes at the moment. Just structurally, like the ADC or the duo lane needs a fucking rework, man. There's too many bushes in that lane. How the fuck are you supposed to stay safe when there's 5 million bushes around you? I hate that. I hate playing ADC in Smite 2. I'm so paranoid. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings collab is interesting, but I mean, we're not getting any skins, right? It's just like icons and stuff. But that definitely like brings some eyes to the game for sure. Oh no, get me out of this role. I just said I hate it. Get me out. I don't want to play this role, man. No, dude. Let me. Thank you. Mid, maybe. I mean, it's great that I have Vivas with me here, but dude, I'm bad at this role, straight up. I can't play it. I don't think I've won a single ADC game. At this point, I'm just traumatized. But you know what, Vivas? Just for you, I will do my best. You know what? They just nerfed me, because the thing I was thinking about playing was Zeus. But now I don't want to play it anymore. At least you don't have Dutch support. I mean, Dutch isn't that bad support. I've seen his support. I've seen his Ymir. Oh, we got a Dutch? Oh, thank God. I'm not ADC. Who is my hero? Who is it? Who saved me? Dude, I'm looking forward to Geb. I will tell you, I will play Geb. I fucking love Geb. One of the biggest problems with Geb is, especially in solo specifically, was that he kind of sucked in the terms of wave clearing. Like, once you wave cleared, you weren't really able to do anything else after that, because you had to use all your abilities for it. Now, the waves are so squishy that you can make so much shit work in solo. That's why it's so varied. Wait, what just happened? Wait, okay, so if you're in queue and you accept, I noticed this before. If you're in queue and you accept the party invite, it just cancels the queue, but it doesn't get you, like actually accept the party invite. That's weird. I said, you can see the conquest map in the search box thing. If it was, I didn't notice. Maybe. Did not look. Dude, there's no way you have Vivis and Dodge's duo queue on the same team, right? Right? That can't be right. We have Cheeto's power, so I believe. Oh yeah, speaking of Jack, are you still here? Do you like the Poseidon? Because he's obviously got a pretty big +1. He's definitely good. It's very, very good. Yeah, so that is Beavis on the Thor. Interesting. Are we gonna be full on nasty and do a double Loki? Kinda tempted to do that. It's either that or new for me right now. I'll do more again and just pray I don't get a bad server. Thor. I mean, I'm getting ammo for my ults at least in this game. But that might be a fan solo, maybe? Possibly. You picked Thor. Are you mid though? Dude, what the fuck is what is your guys' comp? Who's ADC? While this is good for us that you don't have an actual ADC, this is a terrible comp for me to deal with as Morgan. Well, I know what I'm building. Your ADC? Wait, who are you with? Are you with Fluffy? Fluffy does have a pretty good Thanatos, so gotta look out for that. Oh yeah, Duke, you forgot to pick. So he's my hero from last game. I see. Why didn't you just invite me then? The fuck? Oh, I guess because I was over in the party. Never mind. That makes sense. Uh, What am I against? Bacchus? Sobek? I think we're just gonna do this. Stay safe.
Have fun. Good luck. Yoku dekimashita.
Oh, you were stuck in support? Fair enough, yeah. Rhoda had the most tragic duo lane of all time. It's great. Yeah, pretty sure Sobek. Probably. Yeah, he did get my solo last game, didn't he? I guess this is a revenge match, though. For what could have been.
Minions.
It is pretty annoying, though. Sobek is one of the harder things for me to deal with this Morrigan. He just reveals stealth too easily. That being said, he's not a good fighter early, meaning he will give me the early game that I need to get my lead. Or to just get some items. I'll be there for late game, by the way. But I'm also very glad that it's not raw. That's enough. Oh, he's gotta have missed at least 2 creeps for that. Didn't that have Sunder? He doesn't have Sunder as Sobek, okay. Interesting.
Another day will rise.
Wait, what is Dutch playing? Is he mid Thor?
Be careful, middle.
No, he's ADC, right? Okay.
Follow me. Enemy missing.
Be careful left.
Actually surprised that missed. Would have thought it hit.
Good game.
Soon say.
Well, I saw the Arcane soundtrack popping up here. I don't want to fucking get it smacked here. It went on its own rotation, let's see. I don't have a long enough playlist for my streaming. Still haven't really added a whole lot. I've been very lazy on that.
Retreat right leg. I'll attack.
Ultimate is ready.
What do I do actually? Probably Thanatos early? Or Loki? Yeah. Right there is why I hit Sobek as Morrigan. He just keeps the distance too easily.
Down.
He's way too good of a self-healer. Or just a healer.
Careful. Right. Enemy missing.
Enemy missing left.
No! About to leech. Don't need that. Yeah, with a talisman. I'll do probably hybrid this game. I was, to be fair, I mean, Seagull definitely got more known with it at this point, but I love playing Morrigan and solo as well. Just, I'm not obsessed like Seagull is. He's crazy. I'm not crazy. That's the difference.
Your right tower is under attack.
Enemy missing right. Be careful.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Quickly, Mori.
Thanks.
Guess I got to play Thanatos after all.
Enemy missing right. Be careful.
I don't know about wasting your whole kit on me, buddy. I'm not sure that's a good idea right now. Yeah. Managed to miss both the wave and him. Hit an auto, man! Oh, that's really, really bad blink. We don't need to talk about that. I didn't even know why I pressed it. I wasn't even panicking.
Curses! Sorry!
It's nothing.
Hey Mal, it's good to see you, man. I'm doing good, I'm doing good. I just haven't been streaming much myself either. Just haven't really enjoyed it as much lately. Guess I just burned out a bit. I don't know, it's probably not the streaming, it's probably just more like Smite 2. Like, I just haven't felt like sitting down playing it for like multiple hours that often. But today is more of a special case because I am fixing my sleep schedule.
Good game.
I don't know how long I'll go for, but like I will be up all night fixing my sleep schedule.
Enemy missing right.
It's been bad for a while, and now when we're hitting Christmas times and all the family events and shit's happening, I gotta fix it. Man. Where's that jungler again? Thana, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm surprised he hasn't been here at all. I mean, at this point, it's almost too late, because I'm might be too tanky for them to really kill me that easily. Can I reach? That's the question.
An ally has been slain.
Attack.
Completed.
playing this game kind of bad, despite my score. I need to shape up a bit, playing it pretty rusty. Because I should have just ulted first on Thana there, instead of actually going for the 3-3-1. Are you tired of me, Sobek?
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh my god. I do need to stop hitting him, because I'm not winning the trades anymore.
Quiet. Quiet. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Your right tower is under attack.
Attack, attack, attack.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy missing. Be careful.
You gonna go for this? If Sobek wasn't here, I would go for that, man. Oh, Bacchus is here too, I'm out.
Please. 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 On my way. On my way.
Your right tower is under attack.
Let's go. Ross seems confused.
Under attack. An enemy has been slain. Ironic.
Deep breaths, Horik. We can do this. Don't worry, man. It's not a problem. There's a Bacchus here. I gotta be prepared to ult. That's fine.
The pyro
Maybe I should warp more.
has arrived.
I don't know. I think the only thing that can really kill me if Thana or Thor lands on me before I'm able to respond to it. But I have beats as well, so.
Is under attack.
Why did he go Sunder, man? fucks with my chaseability on Thanatos.
Destroy the left enemy tower. I'll attack right lane.
Let's see if I can actually gank. Right. Let's give it a shot. I think he's out though. Yeah, screw it. Don't like Thanatos build very much. Maybe I do. I could do Thor, but I forgot what the problem with stacking items are in Morgan. I don't think I'm getting the stacking items, if I remember correctly. Which would suck.
Your right tower is under attack.
There are 3 here.
I have the power of Thanatos on my side. No way, man. Oh, Marcus is here again.
Has been slain.
If I could execute, I would have done it.
Your right tower is under attack.
But if I have to land and Barkos potentially flops me or some shit, I don't want to deal with it. No, he doesn't have blue. He doesn't. Okay.
Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Cancel that.
Enemy missing left.
An ally has been slain.
Oh? My what didn't go off?
Defend the Gold Fury. Your right tower is under attack. Ward here. Attack. Attack.
Attack the right
Your right tower.
Oh, he still killed him. Well, unfortunate.
Attack the Gold Fury.
on my way.
Group up.
Oh, this could be really good.
Left tower is under attack. Destroyed a middle enemy tower.
No sight unseen.
Hell, retreat! Attack the Gold Fury!
Help!
We don't need 5 people for this anyway. Just need a few more. I don't have my ult up yet. Man, boys, just get out when I tell you to get out, please. We should not have fought this. I don't know why Horik went that deep. If we just fall back and get gold for free, they can't come in. Now we're through the lead we had. Well, not in gold, but they might get gold now instead. Some of them were low though. I could have played that better as well. I would have been out though if Thana had blink. I'm just saying. Are they on it? They are. Odin is not rotating though. He's doing our back camps. Dude, my sensitivity when I'm watching someone when they're dead or when I'm dead is crazy. Why is that different? Like, the only one who could have come to heroic there was Odin, which he could have for sure, but. What? No way, dude. Oh my god, and Odin doesn't get him. There's no way, man. There is no way. They're gonna get a fire for that. I need size and right. I think it should stop trying to Thanatos because his build is ass. And he doesn't have blink, which kind of fucks with me. I don't know, Thor would be the next best, but he has Transcendence, which I don't think I'm getting stacks for. Bacchus could work, but not in terms of burst. Honestly, Nova is probably the best way. If I'm in a bad spot, Nova might not be the best though. I don't know, I guess, actually, when I think about it, why not Loki? Loki almost makes the most sense in both situations. Just make sure that. I didn't think they were doing fire, but just in case. Well, it's gonna be up soon anyway. Yeah, not gonna blink on Fan as a crime. It feels like it, right? Like I'm not crazy. This man is Sunder. It makes the Thanos so much worse for me to turn into. Oh, that is so unfortunate. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Bro, where are they? It's like, why are they not on fire or anything? Where are they? Weird champ. They have to be doing pyro, right? Pyro or our buffs. There are only two options. Don't think they're in the bushes there. Yeah, it was our buffs.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyramids.
We need retreat.
An ally has been slain.
Dude. What the fuck? How are we losing in the back as well? Oh no, man. I got a 3-man dunk.
Cancel that.
No, just group with us, otherwise we gonna end up losing this. Alright. I didn't realize he was trolling. I don't really do enough damage to fully carry this either. That's like a stealth Morgan, one-shot build.
Attention to ourselves. Better than alone. Battle, my children.
Oh, he's gonna die here. Use your minions, man.
Battle, my children.
Evil shall be fled. Raise the heavens.
Let's just poke them even more, make sure they don't fire straight after.
Been slain.
Noah doesn't have Soul Reaver, man.
Be careful left.
We foresee a battle.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Why would you? No, Odin! We're spending way too much time on that.
Completed.
Retreat.
Let's just poke them even more. I do wish we had just a decent ADC. Like, these ammo is straight up useless, unfortunately, in this one.
On my way.
It's tough. Like, we're just in a situation. How did you not hear him go in? None of you heard him go into the ult? Oh. It's unfortunate because we have, like, Odin is playing fine, but he is Odin, being just a bad support in general. We don't have a whole lot of CC to initiate. Like, we kind of rely on either me or Loki to do something or go in, which is really not great for us.
The pyro.
Hey, Bengus, good to see you, man.
Your left tower has been destroyed.
Yeah, they definitely could throw. They have pretty bad overall, like, objective damage because they don't have an ADC. Just making sure they're not actually on fire already. I was thinking Thor and Thanatos could do it. by themselves, but yeah, I'll like we're relying on picking someone off. I will slowly transition my build into being a full damage one-shot build. Because we're gonna need it.
Under attack.
Enemy ultimate down. Retreat left lane.
So close. My ult is not up yet. Dude, get him low. I missed everything. They probably most definitely have a ward on this. Choose my decoy for vision.
Destroyed the fire tower. Attack the gold fury.
While they're dead, I'm gonna see if I can just yoink this tower real fast. Got a Minotaur in the perfect place as well. Get a Warhorn while we're at it, just to add to the push.
Your team has destroyed the gold fury.
I'm tempted to stay and
Ultimate is ready. Enemy missing. Retreat.
no. It's not really. We don't want to fight here.
Enemy ultimate incoming. On my way.
Also surprised he was hit with his ult up. I really should have just banked, but at this point we should push. So fast. What a weird fucking fight. I just went back. fuck, man? What is happening? Oh, and the lag is great. I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't even end. And why did I blink? No, that is here. Dude, if that lag spike didn't happen, I might actually been able to. The lag spike that happens after every time I get out of my Morgan ult is terrible. That being said, I now have Rod and a 3k pot, so... let's just sell this.
You rock. Cancel that.
New ult should hit the Titan.
Okay,
Seems balanced.
okay.
Unfortunate. Profile.
You hurt right.
Dude, what the fuck? A single Loki won the damage? That doesn't seem right. They're losing a lot of shit on them here. So big ults. I mean, we should just go in and end. I'll turn to Thanatos or Thor. How is Thanos built now? Better. I like that a lot more. He actually has pen as well now.
Okay. Attack.
On my way. On my way.
Attack.
And I kind of just prefer Thana over Thor. That's easy. For timing the Titan... Alright.
How can this be?
Very strange game. It's not time for a kill. I had to, man. It was too tasty looking at that kill right there. It's too tasty. What's that? Rank 8. Alright, Horik. Have a nice one, man. GG's. Anyone else queuing that wants to duo up, just for a bit more of a smooth experience? The queue might be alright enough to not necessarily need a... I think Dutch was in a party, right? Unless he's... yeah, Dutch. I mean, Awan Nuwa was... he was interesting as well, to say the least. You want to queue up, Dutch? Or party up? I'll just cancel just in case. Already in? Oh, okay. Thought you meant in game. No worries. Then I'll just hope that I am not alone against you. I'll be back my next game if I could by the time. Alright. Yeah, no worries, man. First and foremost, it should be fun. So, yeah, it's... no worries. Did you buy the Odin hot dog skin? Is that in Smite 2? I thought it was only Smite 1. Oh. But no, I have not. Oh, you can just use legacy gems for that? I mean, then yeah, of course. I mean, I have 400,000. It's practically free for me. So yes, absolutely. Interesting. Why is he sad? Needs to get all skins? Well, okay, so who got skins then? Yeah, Amos is not both. I don't want to do that. I want to spend diamonds on it. I'll save my diamonds for, like, Ascension passes and stuff. I already have the Ares skin. Was Odin the only one who had an added skin like that so far? Yeah, this one is new. I don't really care much for it, but that's just because it's Baron as well. I don't play him enough. This one is a really cool skin though. I would not mind actually spending stuff on this, but I'm burned out on chalk, so for now I won't. Also, speaking of, where is the also why is he floating? Where is the dancer like mafia skin? Because that was also supposed to be in the what is that called? Divine Legacy thing? Because the Bacchus one is here, right? The Bacchus one is here, but some of them are not. I wonder when they'll be added. This is decent skin. Oddly enough, I don't really like this one very much. That's fine, I have a Radiant now, I don't have to worry about anything. I think the VFX are missing for that one. Okay. Yeah, even Hakata has a skin. Hello, where's the Mordred skin, huh? Because I will definitely buy that. I'll fucking take it. Yeah, there's also from... Yeah, that's just one of the smart ones as well. This one is cool. I wouldn't mind having this one. It's a very cool skin. Okay, I see. So Loki's one is also that. Cool. I'll take it. I think you're the only person who loves Mordred. I think a few people love Mordred. It's just the problem with him is that he's really bad. That's also why I'm not playing him more. I play him once in a blue moon. Like, I played him once in ranked, like, a few days ago. It went well. Somewhere. There it is. This one went well. I did so much of this game too. As usual, Neith has the most skins. Neith and Ymir. Always. Some things never change. Nuba also has a skin in the Divine Legacy thing that she doesn't have in Smite 2 yet. Odin actually has more skins at the moment. There's so many skins. Skin 3, like actual skins. Dude, Radiant Poseidon is so cool. It looks awesome. They nailed the Poseidon skins, for sure. Like, Raz is alright, I think. But maybe it's all just because it's not, like, wildly different from his normal one. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't stand out. He already glows. So what's wrong with this queue? Dodge, did I miss the queue? Or are you also still in queue? If we're both still in queue at least, we definitely missed the queue. I also don't think the Radiant Soapig is as cool as some of the other ones. Like, this one is so cool. And the albino on the opal is honestly the best one to me. Oh, he's battling the trio queue. Classic. Sol has, I guess, technically 2 skins. This one is mainly a recaller though. Just like an upgraded recaller. I'm not a huge fan of this skin, personally. It's weird. It's almost weird when he lacks a hat. That could just be me though. I just think a big part of his silhouette as a character is the hat. Gonna be paid to play Susanoo. You're tired of him? Or do you just not like him? I'll get Poseidon out. Maybe grab a Zeus for myself. At least Zeus should be a character I can play on a bad server as well. And I don't really think Zeus has any terrible matchups in solo, just because of how broken he is. I'll do it. I don't want to deal with it. Might as well grab it myself. Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand if you don't want to play God, because it just isn't good at the moment. Yeah, so Susanoo definitely struggles, like Mordred. So yeah. And Susanoo is only gonna get worse with more releases. Like, they might as well just buff him again. Because one of the problems with him, which is that he was one of the few, like, actual junglers in the beginning. But then they nerfed him so much that now he just barely does any damage. And while that was fine at the time, it's not fine anymore. Now it just gets clapped even more. Alright, Horik, have a nice dinner, man. What? What? Man. I waited for that game. Just for it to be dodged. Oh, now you can buy them. Wait, so why can you... Why are some of them... Why are some of them for both? But some are not. I don't really like this skin personally anyway, but... Actually, it's all right in Smite 2. I think I have bad memories from it in Smite 1. I thought it looked terrible in Smite 1. It actually looks pretty good in Smite 2. And Thanatos already has a really cool skin. He's got a decent base model though, so I don't really mind not using a skin on him. Kinda same with Morgan. Then Dutch game got dodged as well, I see. We'll see what happens then. Mine definitely looked like a very small boy game. We need an upgraded version of Heavy Metal Thor in Smite 2. Because honestly, that's still his best skin, just based off of the voice pack. Dude, Ymir always has so many skins. It's got 4 actual skins. Damn. This one is just actual nightmare fuel to me. This one's just cute. And this one has bones in it. And while this looks cool as well, I don't know why I'm suddenly reviewing all the skins, but at this point, like, I like this skin. If I could just use some of the other versions of it, I just think that the tier 5 skins just become way too big on the screen. It's a problem I think all of them kind of have. Some of the early versions of them, like upgrades, like just the suited up Zeus, is super cool. But unfortunately, that's not possible. Yeah, I mean, I think the Hades one is cool, but I mean, the thing is, they're all cool. They're just way too big. It changes the model too much for my liking. Like Thanatos has some of the best, like, I guess models, I think. Like like the big angel, like, is cool for sure, but like some of the smaller versions of it is so cool to me. Almost like a a fallen angel type vibe. And we don't really have a whole lot of skins like that. And the Thanatos kind of fits that very well. I can't really show it in Smite 2 because I don't think it's not really here. But like he does have a cool skin though. This one is pretty cool. It also comes from a perspective of someone who has played a lot of competitive, and in competitive, I don't like playing with something that changes the model too much. If you're just a casual player, I completely understand if you just want to look cool. I just don't function the same way anymore. I just want a skin. Like it's the same thing with Vamana in a way. Like I've watched Vamana's model for years until they changed his model, and I was just I can't look at it. I cannot get used to the new Vamana model. So it's gonna be weird when he releases Smite 2 without, more than likely, any of his old skins. Yeah, Ulurus is perfect. Ulurus was perfect because it doesn't change his base model that much. It just makes it really cool. It is the best version of a tier 5 skin in my head. Yeah, Thor's has a really cool idea, but I don't like the model running around the way it does. I do have that one though, because I thought it was really cool at first. There's also a big part of it. You're not allowed to use those skins in competitive. So I didn't want to get used to using one of those skins since I couldn't use them anyway. So it just wasn't relevant to me. Yeah, I hated it pretty fast. Like I used it a few times and I was like, I don't like it. It's weird. It changed the way he looked too much, and it fucked with my own brain. Yeah, you're not allowed to use something that changes the game too much in competitive. So like skins that change models or like visual effects too much are just not allowed. It's pretty normal for competitive games in general that has any kind of skin. You see the same thing in League of Legends. Something that just changes the game too much makes it weird for the average viewer who doesn't understand skins. They want to make it a bit more inclusive to everyone, you know. Also just to make it more fair, like not every competitive player knows every single skin of the game necessarily. Um, so yeah. Man, Dutch joined my Zeus. I'm pretty sure this is sabotage. One Zeus? Nah, if you want to play it, just play it. You can give it to me though, because against Thanatos Kepler you might not have a good time. If you want something else, just let me know. Hekate Nuwa. I'll get you the new one, man. Here you go. Inside. I don't know. All these arcane songs are so cool, but I don't know if I'm gonna get punched in the stomach. They shouldn't be able to be heard in the VOD either way, but I love this song though. It's so good. Mm. So it's also unknown territory. I don't know any of these songs. It's just going off the list at this point. I'll go back to the beginning of my playlist, so some things might just play again. Alright, let's see. I guess I'm against Baron.
Zeus.
Pretty annoying. Probably one of the worst matchups I could meet on Zeus. Like, Baron and Thanatos can definitely fuck me up real fast. Jack, huh? Man, this dude doesn't play the game and he has rank 10 Hecate? The fuck, Jack? Oh, this is looking kinda cooked for me, honestly. What active even works for me? Guess I'll go hybrid. I don't think going full mage into this is gonna be a good idea. I'll use the OP ADC Zeus build instead.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Good
Oh,
game.
yes. Be careful left.
Quiet. Be careful, middle. Yes.
Cancel that. My wisdom is unmatched.
Be careful, middle. Return to base. Stay here.
No. Okay. Bye.
Kind of fitting song playing Zeus, honestly.
Nice job. Stay here.
Thanks.
I must step away.
Stepping away for a moment.
Minions.
I think I asked earlier as well, is the music volume fine? I forgot if I didn't notice if I got an answer. Am I the only one who can hear it? Because that would be kind of annoying, only knowing that 2 hours into the stream. It's good for you. Alright. Should be good for everyone then. Fuck them up, team.
Hello?
Unfortunate.
Okay, bro.
Your middle tower is under attack. Lightning bolt.
How does he have a level lead? Fuck. Wait, what? I must have missed the one creep somewhere. How?
An enemy has been slain. Lightning bolt.
Katowice.
An enemy has been slain.
Level up. I'm still dead, I think. Oh, I checked it. I'm so fucking lucky. I'm gonna lose blue buff though.
Enemy spotted.
Oh man, why is the mid laner here, man? Fenrir is not here for fucking red buff either. That sucks. That's just something we shouldn't be giving up.
Guard my back. An ally has been slain.
I could try to zone him. It's risky though, Thanatos could be coming too. Oh. What I should have done was not walk that close, because I forgot I don't have any fucking response to his ultimate.
Okay.
Well, that was actually super stupid. I can't believe I didn't think about that. That's not good.
Your right tower.
I do fear we have a gigantic jungle diff at the moment though. I'm a little afraid of it,
Your left tower.
especially because it's also Thanatos.
Enemy missing right.
Enemy missing middle.
Enemy ultimate down.
I mean, at least the god that I'm most afraid of on their team is in my own lane. Not really that afraid of Thanatos unless he misses or hits the scythe. Then he might be scary.
Guard my back, little sentinel. Enemy spotted. Your right tower is under attack.
Defend.
Let the hit. Free your soul.
Of course. Well, at least we got Thana.
Tower is under attack.
Damn. Vibes is MVP. Out of nowhere, safe.
Enemy missing middle. Be careful.
has 2 levels on me. I guess because we lost buffs before as well. The hell, man. As much as I hate it, I might need to just accept that I just sit back in this lane. Not do anything.
I should keep well stocked. Enemy missing right.
Enemies incoming left.
It's only gonna get worse the later on we go to. The more tanky it gets, the less it's gonna be fun.
Be right back.
Lightning bolt. Your right tower is under attack. An ally has been slain.
Enemy missing middle. Cracked.
Guard my back. Enemy ultimate down.
Enemy ultimate. Enemy incoming.
Oh, he's still such an easy gank if Fenrir decided to come gank. We can definitely kill him.
I'm returning to base.
Fenrir back in Rapid Bar buff spawns. Not a fan of it, but I think they're not invading this time. Just because of how it went when they tried.
Ultimate is ready.
No one said red though. I guess I'll do it. Don't worry, boys.
Retreat.
I'm not complaining.
An ally has been slain. Cancel that. Follow me.
Next time his ult's back up, I'm probably cooked, so
Enemy missing middle.
Let the hammer
let's just go home.
strike. Enemy missing right.
Enemies behind us.
Your middle tower is under attack. Great fury.
Enemy missing middle.
Hey Benji, thank you so much for the sub, man. Or the resub.
Killing spree.
I will say, you really don't have to though. Like, I barely stream these days. You could save the money. And I know, it's not a lot, but still. I appreciate it nonetheless.
An enemy has been slain. Enemy missing right. A storm warning will do nicely. Under attack.
Where is he? There he is.
Shut down.
Gotta keep the train going. How's the game been today? Pretty good. 2 games, I think, overall I've done. Maybe, something like that. 2 wins. This one is a bit rough, because I'm into Baron as Zeus. It's probably the worst matchup I could possibly have as Zeus. Literally anything else is fine, I think. They would just... He's old and he's 3, just... You can't do anything about it as Zeus. But hey, at least I'm not lagging. All these damn bushes. Do not know if he is missing or not either.
Attack the gold fury.
I'll take a blink. That's more than I expected. Baron blink.
The Pyro. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Dude, we have a 6k gold lead. I'm not doing shit. It's definitely not on me. Even though Baron also has the lead in the lane, he's not taking a lot of stuff for it. Which is obviously just good for me as well. Because I can't fight him. Not even a little bit.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your
Still
team
made it out.
has destroyed a left enemy tower. An enemy has been slain. Enemies have returned to base. Enemy missing left.
Ultimate is ready.
I think people are a little tired of Baron players. Just like they're tired of Chuck players. Type of thing. They're just annoying as fuck to deal with. It doesn't require an insane amount of skill to really utilize that type of stuff. They're just... Their baseline is being annoying. That's the reason.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower. Shut down.
There's so much fighting happening and I'm just here. Doing my thing.
Has been slain.
Throwing some lightning bolts.
Enemy missing right. Cancel that.
Let's rotate for this. See if I can find a lone Hecate somewhere here.
Your middle tower
He must
is
have back
under
though.
attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Oh, he's thought about me doing that, huh?
Your middle tower is under attack.
Ultimate is down. Another day will rise.
No!
Attack.
That sucks, man. He was dead no matter what in front of me. No! I should, dude! I have 4k gold, I should just bagged! I could've... Fuck. Alright. Mistakes were made. Let's do this.
I'll defend.
Let's not call attention.
I thought I could get my detonate off before and then finish him with an auto. I needed 2 autos, it turned out. Truly a tragic turn of events. No one could have predicted this. Eventually, though, I might need beats against this Baron here. We'll see. Depends on how much he decides to ult me in the late game.
Okay.
On my way.
Okay.
Behind us! An enemy has been slain. Killing spree! Attack the Gold Fury! Attack Fire Giant!
Fire?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we can do fire, sure.
Fire Giant! Okay.
We just need to be, like, we need to know what the fuck we're doing. That's the only thing.
Enemies in left lane. Beware the shifting sands. Your left tower is under attack. Your team has destroyed the fire giant.
We do, in a small sense, have 2 ADCs. I don't really do full ADC damage, but Zeus does good damage out of me.
Your team has destroyed the pyromancer.
Scepter of Dominion angle? It's never a Scepter of Dominion angle. You know this.
Attack the Gold Fury.
The Headstone just doesn't mine his damage. And I don't really want to be close enough for to the Baron to actually like,
Destroyed the Gold Fury.
auto him.
No problem.
Yeah, he can be here all he wants.
Behind us!
On my way. Retreat. Follow me.
Oh man.
I'll attack lightning bolt.
He should have just died.
Your team
Attack
has
right
destroyed a left enemy tower. Lightning bolt. Enemy tower. Enemies in left lane.
We got Phoenix as well. Oh, well, that's. Feels like we're getting away with a bit too much here. They're not playing the map too well.
Enemy tower.
Forward, my creation.
I'm returning to base.
And I have 4k gold again. Ah. I wanted to get that last wave, but Dutch joined that one.
Slain.
I think I'm just gonna go beats. Not having it is so dangerous for me in this game.
Shut down. That's too bad.
Baron is also just straight up full tank. Outside of the last totem.
Lightning bolt. Strike.
probably will use one of my actives, honestly. That's slow.
The Pyromancer has arrived.
Like, this build is fun, but... Oh, I should have pressed. My bad, boys. That is completely on me. I forgot which button I had to press for my beats. But I mean, it's also your fault for getting caught, but you know. Don't worry about it. No worries. I very rarely have two actives, so having to press Q for me is weird.
Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
No! Damn it, man. There's always someone.
Ultimate is ready.
Always another one. Probably just a glad shield.
Left lane. I'll attack middle lane. Split push.
I mean, it was actually tactical, because I saved it for the Cupid ult. So, there we go. Which gave me my first kill. That Thanatos is looking kind of like a tasty kill, honestly.
No problem. Your team has destroyed the fire tower.
I want to get speed buff. No, they're
Your
on
team
a...
has
Oh,
destroyed
man,
the Pyromancer.
that sucks.
A storm warning will do nicely. Be careful, right? You are fabulous. Slain an enemy. Thank you.
Okay.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy Phoenix. Your team
I don't have beats or anything here. I need to be careful for the Baron ult. Oh!
Not call attention to ourselves.
It's fucking dangerous for me being here. I shouldn't be here. The lag. Oh my god. No! Game security violation. I didn't do anything, I swear. Update? No way, man. No! Don't start updating! Oh my god. Pause the game! It's gonna take a while. It's updating. There's no way, man. Oh my god, it's gonna take so long. Updates is might to take forever for me. There's no fucking way. I hope you guys can end without me. At least we were in front of a Phoenix, potentially being able to end. But do we even get the win for that? If that happens? That's just me being optimistic. Or paused. I don't know if I can make it back in time. My game crashed and now it's updating. Like, what the fuck is this? This is sabotage. I'm in 3 out of 12 gigabytes. It's gonna take a little bit. It might take about that 3 minutes. Hopefully it won't be any longer than that. Yeah, 3 out of 12. That's what I'm telling you, man. It's sabotage. Someone in the enemy team did this. It's at 5 now. I should be able to make it. I can't believe that happened, though. It mostly sucks because we could have just ended right then and there. Did I die, Dutch? Am I still alive? Or maybe you guys just ended, or about to end, or whatever? Like, what's happening in the game? It's at 9. Alright, I'm just gonna put on my cam while we're waiting here. Otherwise, you guys are looking at nothing. Then you can just look at me. There we go. I'm rocking the old TSM jacket. I found it. I haven't used it in a long time. Had no update? I don't know. It's at 11 now. I'm almost done. I'm assuming Dutch isn't in chat anymore, otherwise he would have answered my questions. Alright. Opening the game now. Yes, get me in. Get me in. Who are they? Like my team or the enemy team? My team? Okay, good. Recompiling shades. Don't do this now, man. I don't have time for this. Get in. Hopefully it doesn't screw anything up by having an update in between everything. Okay.
I'll attack the Gold Fury.
You are fabulous. I should keep well stocked. Champion!
Well, good job, team. We didn't lose anything for it, because that could have been real bad.
No problem. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Ultimate is ready. Cancel that.
Alright, I need to let my game load a bit, because I'm stuttering. Speeding into the game too fast.
Let's not call attention.
Not Blink's normal cast? Okay. I'll try and be ready for that. Oh, my wards are normal cast.
Ultimate is down.
Oh, but my sentry wasn't. The lag. I went in hoping for the best. but alright, that's fine. We can end.
Nice job.
Whew. My blink was indeed a normal cast. Yeah, it's a bug that happens if you crash or some shit like that during the game. Your actives will only some things apparently, because my sentry was fine, but my normal ward was not. Min-maxing. I had to update my game, guys. Pause the game. I'm updating. Yeah, that was weird. Haven't tried that before. Oh no, I'm going casual. Thank you, Dad, Jack. My hero. And heroic. That would have been crazy. Did I miss the queue? Probably missed the queue. Fucking hell. I really need him to add God Builder. Got babied. ESR is awful since play. Yeah, they did do a soft reset. I don't know how far you were before, Jack, but they did a soft reset like 3 weeks ago, which was just a terrible idea. Because it was only anyone above 4K that got reset. Well, the soft reset itself wasn't bad. It's the fact that they only soft reset the people above 4K and not the people being at 4K. 4.8, yeah. Well, to be fair, like most games are pretty bad at the moment, Jack. Need the hearts reset those 5 queues? Yeah, we do. I believe we're getting one after the Vegas LAN, right? Heard some things about that. We definitely need it. I'm getting a bit up there again after this little win streak. Because I did have a lose streak a while ago. That just kind of fucked me over. Put me back down to 4K. Excuse me. Actually, no, it wasn't 4K. It was just borderline demotion here, so I lost about 400 still from being on 48. Yeah, in January. Makes sense. Yeah, the days after the reset were really rough. They were straight up bad. Like, unenjoyably bad. This is pretty good. I like this. I haven't done Hades today. I might do a Hades game. And show off that sweet radiance. Into a Zeus. I am fine with Hades. Probably not gonna be a solo Zeus though. Even if it is though, I think that's fine for me. Min Viv is finally on the same team. It's gonna be Dutch probably on the Zeus, I would imagine. Fucking Baron again. Don't like it. I should have banned Baron. That's what I should ban. Overall, honestly, a pretty good comp for me to deal with as Hades. Even better. I wish I was against Hercules, man. Some of the light is glitching through his face. That's funny. Monk's Legacy, huh? It's the first time I've seen Monks since Smite 2. I'm kind of feeling Sundry this game. Oh. Oh no, it might be a bad server for me.
Have fun. Good luck.
Well, at least I played Hades. It's the only god I've felt like I can still play on a bad server. Yeah, it's a bad server for me. They do need to add it so you can see ping. That way I know if it's a bad server or not. I still don't think they've added that, right? But oh well,
Minions have
what can you do?
spawned.
It only really sucks if I'm playing something like Thor or Thanatos where you need to land stuff. One creeping a little bitch. It is Herc. It will be a decent fun lane. Hell yeah. Saved. Okay, bye.
Retreat middle lane.
Wait, am I? Maybe this is not a bad server actually. Autos are not terrible. I guess it's just hard to tell in Hades autos whether it was or not. Server is fine, guys. Playing against Herg is always the funniest thing, because you can just tell when people are trying to pull you in.
Enemies in the left jungle.
It's so funny. This is not good though. Too long cooldowns. Enemies in the left jungle is not great when he's already behind me.
Your left tower is under attack.
That sucks. At least Herc did get the kill, because it won't matter a whole lot. Losing the wave sucks though. That puts me behind.
Enemy missing middle.
And I was punished for going for Sunder instead of Blink. Wouldn't have died with Blink up.
Bring the pain.
Be careful. Be right back. No trouble. On my way. On my way.
No! Oh, still worth it if we get Thana. He's not dead. Oh man. Tragic. And he's probably dead in mid eventually. Nope, actually not. I guess I'm just wrong overall. Wait, did he take my blue? There's no way Susano yoinked my blue. I mean, it deserves it in a way for actually securing it, but...
Be careful, right. Enemy missing. No trouble.
Still an XP lead,
Be right back.
despite it all.
Bring the pain.
Be right back. Always got the right place.
Guess we're not doing anything here.
My power grows. On my An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain. Enemies in the left lane.
There's so many people around all the time. It was risky for me going for red, but still. At least there they can do everything on the right side. Yeah, actually worth it. People are smart enough in this game that they can just go invade instead, knowing everyone is on the left side. I can appreciate that.
Yes. Got it.
Might lose our left side though.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy missing left.
An enemy has been slain.
Atop the Gold Fury. Yes. On my way.
Enemy missing
Your left tower
Be
is
careful.
under attack.
Attack.
Your right tower is under attack.
Enemy missing left.
Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury. An ally has been slain.
Dude, I knew he was coming too.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Eventually. Herc's cooldowns came up much earlier than I expected, because of Genji's. I should have gone protection. I regret that now.
Your left tower is under attack.
I mean, they're focusing me because I'm letting them do it. That's the problem. I need to stop letting them do it. I just sit under tower and never get ganked. I'm playing it stupid. It's important to admit when it's your own fault. Like, I saw Thana on the way and I was still playing it aggressive, thinking I could maybe 2v1. I could have just got my ass back home.
Attack.
Seek out
Thing is though, I'm still farming better than Herc, because we're still even. Okay. How are we just dead here, man? I don't understand. Oh no, I guess I kinda do. We do have more against support, which is only useful every 100 seconds when her ult is up. I didn't get the kill on Herc either, that sucks. Oh, he's dead as well.
Wonderful.
Your middle tower is under attack.
We got the buff though. You know what? I say worth. No heal for me.
Your right tower is under attack.
We got this blink at least.
An enemy has been slain.
I do think we have a very good comp if we can hit the mid-late game team fighting stages. But we're also struggling a bit now because Zeus is getting big, Thanatos is getting big.
An ally has been slain. On my way.
On my way.
Enemy ultimate down.
Rampage.
Baron is here as well. Yeah, whatever. How do we both get hit, man? We're both idiots. Ah, man. I was so... Whatever. I have no words. I can't believe it still hit both of us, though. That's crazy.
Your right tower is under attack.
You know what's that again?
Has been slain. Shut down.
Clean. I mean, I'll keep saying the same thing. Like, the fact that I'm still keeping up with Herc is the important thing.
Your middle tower
I'm actually
is under attack.
400 gold ahead of him.
The Pyromancer has arrived. Your right tower
Oh,
is
he's so
under
dead.
attack. Killing spree. Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
Just gotta farm more effectively. That's about it. That isn't right, so I should be fine here. Oh, he's starting to get a little lead now. He does have 5 kills, so...
Enemy missing middle.
On my way.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. An enemy has been slain. Killing spree. Has been slain. Double kill. You have been slain.
It's being set so late, man. I can't get out in time. Alright, fuck it. I'm buying a fuck ton of wards. It's getting kind of disgusting now. How much they're coming to me. And I need more cooldown as well.
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
I can easily survive it, but I need to know before they're literally inside my asshole.
Your left tower is under attack.
Like, how is Zeus here without it being called, you know? Before he's actually on me. Like, he's slow as fuck. It's not like he has any means of really getting to me without just walking slowly and menacing me. Of course, why wouldn't he be? I mean, I can't outplay them more than that, buddy. You gotta fucking do something here.
Be careful.
I can't even believe Herc survived.
Ultimate is ready.
I thought he was 100% sure of that.
Okay.
Yikes. My score is not looking too hot right now. Should have placed my wards, I guess. Okay, now the lead is gonna start to show a bit. Still only 300 gold ahead of me though. Zerg is not farming very well.
Your middle tower is under attack. The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Seek out the weaker souls.
I need to probably just let the wave push at this point.
Enemy missing middle. Group up. Attack fire giant. Cancel.
Enemies in the left lane.
Attack fire giant.
Okay, on my
Attack
way.
fire giant. Group up.
On my way.
Nice.
Yeah, because Fire Giant was the call there, yeah.
Defend middle lane.
Forward and mid, yeah, let's go top fire. Nice job, bro.
One day you will find a worthy opponent.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
You're showing yourself, buddy.
You have Thunder, right? We should defend this. You can go in, you can just kill them here.
I can't when they're just focusing me down. Like, Honor's just fucking auto-attacking me to death. I did fuck up my ult though. I did play that exchange overall really bad. I ended up having to dash to try and survive instead of just staying alive. And sundering. That's so annoying. Alright, I'm gonna pause the music for a second. I'm gonna try and focus up a bit. I have a hard time focusing fully when there's music in the back. I'm not good at... In general, I just kind of don't like actually having music on when I'm playing. Or when I have to focus.
An ally has been slain.
Defend right
Okay.
lane. Defend middle lane.
Dude, Herc's just doing fucking gold camps, man.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy incoming middle.
Can we?
Retreat.
The pyromancer has arrived.
On my way.
I'm coming. I'm catching him this way.
Tower is under attack.
You should go this way as well, game.
They're falling back.
He's landing on the Nova, bro. Ah, he's hit me.
Attack the gold fury.
Ult in 18. Chase, 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 chase.
On her to jump.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy missing middle.
Or just fall back. We can try to do gold, but I think it's risky.
Attack the gold fury. Battle, my children.
Yeah.
Tower is under attack.
Just back. Goal is for them. Right, maybe we can burst it. Nope. Just go.
Better than the low profile.
Your left tower
Just go.
is under attack.
Just go. Just go. Just go.
The low profile.
The enemy team has destroyed the gold fury.
Forward, my creation. The low profile.
An ally has been slain.
Why are we?
An ally
What are we doing here,
has been
boys?
slain. Your right tower is under attack.
Enemy ultimate down.
Your right tower has been destroyed.
They're getting red for free.
Your right phoenix is under attack.
Is it just killed me? Isn't that amazing?
Your right phoenix has been destroyed. Your middle tower is under attack.
I'm not really sure what we can do to get back from this. They just have a wildly snowbally comp, and we have kind of shit late game because we don't have an actual tank. With me going Hades and with Viva's going for Mori.
Been destroyed.
Okay, sure. And the stun was missed. Man. We're going
Hello.
for different targets, guys. Focus the same one. The photographer focus was bad. That was still a good trade for us, though. Very good. Dude, on her... Is it really good on her impale? But holy fuck, that's annoying, man. That would have been a really good ult. Dude, oh, it's being done slow.
I'll sunder these if you need it. Can you
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
zoning,
the
Dave?
Baron is running away.
Nice.
Damn, 1 second left for me.
Be right back.
We should just grab ambush right. They may look for pigs as well. If we just go right, nothing bad will happen. Just group, guys. Yeah, that's not great.
might TP behind us, need to be careful.
I think they will keep pushing left.
Herc is
Behind,
behind us.
behind. Can you back?
I'll back.
maybe? Just don't back yet, don't back yet.
Be careful.
Your left phoenix is under attack.
Attack the gold fury. Yes. Help.
They're coming in. If they come in, we need to fight.
Your left phoenix is under attack.
Can you fight without me? Zeus is in front of me.
Let us reap the reward.
It's fine. We got gold for free.
Attack middle tower. Wait. Attack middle tower.
On my way.
I'll get the wave.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Retreat. Group up.
On my way.
On my way.
Cerberus needs a new toy.
Be careful.
Your team has destroyed the pyramid.
Group up.
I'm not really sure what to go for here, honestly.
On my way.
I'll grab a Deso.
Be careful left.
Would be a nice reset if I ever get a kill.
Retreat.
Go take the P, bro.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
Thana maybe will hit. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's fine. They didn't see him.
I mean, I would take the P still. Yeah, that was actually so lucky.
Seek out the weaker souls.
Just stood being bad.
Be right back. On my way. We need war. Enemy missile. Be careful.
I don't get it, man. Just grow, boys. If I bug, you stay here. I will Zozul rolled.
Beware the shifting sands.
Be careful.
I mean,
An ally has been slain.
nah.
Bring the pain.
On my way.
Thanatos is down. They're going FG. We can double A this ult.
Your team has
Nice job.
destroyed the fire tower.
Herc's dead as well. That's my bad as well. I didn't see they were all there. I got the Zeus at least, but not really worth trade when Nightfire. Unfortunately.
He's in the bush, bro. I'm coming.
It would have been so big if I'd ult in that
I can
moment.
become Izza. Just get the Phoenix.
Your right Phoenix.
Might be losing right Phoenix here.
No, I should back. No, I just back, bro. I think this should be. That is awful. Don't go, don't go.
That's wild. We actually lost Phoenix.
Then I'll take it. Do you know how red works, bro?
On my way.
It doesn't increase your damage, it's like base damage. I would poke better with that. Then you will. Yeah. Goal is that though. Let's open goal.
I'll get the Warhammer before I leave.
Attack the gold fury.
Group up.
Just wait, Isa. They come with TP and we chill. I actually can do means of play with TP. Just wait, boys. Don't get bowed. Don't get nothing. Just
I'll go
wait
for
the
the
80s to come.
the top TP.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just wait the 80s.
They don't know I'm here.
80s ult. Like Thana ult on mid.
Attack mid lane.
Go and burn. We should be able to end. I guess we go mid. It's fine.
My ult's back on the 5.
Yeah, yeah. I have ult in 10 as well.
Middle enemy Phoenix.
The lag with Zeus ult. Goddamn.
Well done.
Yeah, that was a bit better towards late game. Like, one thing is getting focused, but I was definitely also playing it bad. I really was. I could have played my laning phase so much safer and just negate what they were trying to do. Instead, I really wanted to just keep fighting the Herc, because I knew the second Herc's misstepped, I could just ult him and kill him. I really wanted to take advantage of the matchup. I just shouldn't have done that. Actually, I need to walk my dog. I think I will just have to end it here, actually. Where is he? Yeah, he's gotta go. Alright. It's a bit shorter than I wanted to be, honestly. But you know what? I'll take it. Only wins today. I'm not complaining. I'm back up at 4,800. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I will